Mi gente, thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of Home Buying 101 Real Estate Talk Show with Sebastian Cordoba, Mr. Clear to Close. Guys, this week I'm very excited because yes, we're going to be talking about some real estate, but we're going to make it real interesting because we're going to be talking about some different financial topics like new money versus old money. Very important, guys. Second, how should you be using credit? How should you take advantage and make credit work for you, right? But third topic, which is very important, is what kind of mindset should you have to get yourself financially ready to become wealthy, right? Invest into real estate and become a homeowner. So guys, aside from the topics that we're going to be talking about, I also have a very special guest. I have Wilberto Rodriguez from ReWealth Group, who's going to be joining us and answering all these questions with us. So please, guys, don't miss it. Tune in, share it, like it, subscribe, and let's talk about some real estate. Guys, so please, big round of applause. Take out the fireworks because give it up for my special guest, Wilberto Rodriguez from ReWealth Group. Please.
Hello. Sebastian, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be on your show today. I love the setup, love the people. I love it.
Love it, man. And thank you so much for coming. I know, we're busy. We're helping out the community. It's very important for us to come on here, educate, and share the knowledge and what we have in here, right?
Yes.
So, Wilberto, let's get right into it, right?
Absolutely.
So,
Let's go.
Please tell me a little bit about yourself. What you do, where you're from. Talk to me, man. Let's get to know you, please.
Let's go. So, yeah, absolutely. So my name is Wilberto Rodriguez with ReWealth Group. A little bit about myself is I love to help people. I think we're always in the people business no matter where we go, and we're always somewhat like selling ourselves. But more importantly, making relationships, which is the biggest key component in life. A little bit about myself, my background is I used to work in finance, I still continue to work in finance, but that's how I actually started.
Nice.
My family's military, which was a big part of me and where I wanted to go into.
Wow.
But there was a hiring freeze back in 2011 when I was actually going into the state police.
Okay.
And I decided to start my own business. And during that process, after a business was started, about 2 years later, I received a phone call saying, hey, we're hiring, we're back in. But I was like, I already started business. So I ended up continuing the business and the financial route. And I think it's very important for us to be educated financially because sometimes we don't know where to go. And our advice is very limited to who we know and what we do. And sometimes it's trial and error, which I have done many times. And, that's what's made me become confident in my finances and the ability to share what I have learned throughout the years.
Love it, man. I love it. So that's beautiful. And thank you again for coming out. I want everybody tuning in to take out the notepads, take out the iPads because we got a lot of information going your way. Let's just dig right into it, right? Let's indulge, right?
Yeah.
So first topic we're talking about new money versus old money, guys. So very interesting topic. Wilberto, please tell me, what are we talking about when we're talking about new money versus old money?
Absolutely. So before we start, money is just a tool. Money simply amplifies who you are as an individual. So if you're a very giving person, you have more money to give. If you're a very tight and stingy person, like Mr. Scrooge, let's say, for example, you have more to be tight with. Okay. So money is just a tool in our lives, but it's important to know how to use that tool.
Okay.
All right. So basically, new money and old money, you can always look at people and say, hey, that guy's old money, where it's the Newports, where it's the Hamptons, wherever the case may be. But also this new age of where the new money is coming from.
Okay.
And there's no right or wrong, essentially, but it depends on who we kind of get our information from. So,
and sorry to cut you in, but
yeah.
when you're saying who you're surrounding yourself with or who you're taking advices from, or what do you mean by that? I mean,
absolutely. So sometimes we are in a situation where, hey, Uncle Joe Schmo said, hey, it's not the right time to buy a house right now. And, in fact, any time is a good time to buy houses right now, as long as you're ready.
Yep.
Depending on the outlook, right?
Yes.
If it's a 3 to 5, maybe, but on a long term, real estate has always done well. The stock market has always done well, and all types of asset classes have done well over the long term.
Okay.
So you always have to have that time horizon. So, and who you surround yourself with is who you become. I like to be around players such as yourself, other people in the community, both statewide, regionally, internationally, right? Because these people have done it before me, and I want to learn from the best.
Okay.
As much information as I provide too, I don't always like to be the smartest person because I'm always learning. And I think you're always going to continually learn into that aspect. So who you surround yourself with is who you become.
Okay.
And that is in any kind of aspect in life. If you want to grow, you want to be around people who you aspire to be. Because sometimes we get comfortable in this level of life that doesn't allow us to get to this next level. Or sometimes we're scared because if we do jump to the next level, for example, now we're at square one, but at the next level.
Okay.
You know? So yeah, so that's very key, very important.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I like that. So basically, kind of jumping not so much forward onto the mindset, but kind of bringing it back to the first topic.
Sure.
Is it's kind of a mindset that you need to have in order for you to first figure out, hey, listen, if I want to own 5 properties over the next 5 years,
Yeah.
how do I need to set myself up, right? Should I buy a single family first, or should I start with a 4 family, a 3, and a 2 and a 1, where it's generating a cash flow?
Correct.
Another asset allocation.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right?
Assets is very key. I think you hit the nail on the head. We're doing a deep dive into that part right now.
Yeah.
What I would do, for example, is if you're young enough, before you get married, let's say you do have a spouse, everything's getting kind of mixed together, you guys are ready to make that next step, which is the ring and get married, make it solidified. You go get a property, 3 to 5 family,
Okay.
or 3, up to a 3 family, and then I get a property up to a 3 family. Now
Okay.
we have 6 doors.
Okay.
As opposed to, and we could take advantage of, let's say, the FHA 3.5% down.
Okay.
And I think that creates something where now we're generating cash flow. We have our financial lessons because delayed gratification. We want the big house right now. We want that white picketed fence. We want maybe that condo, that sky rise or whatever. But let's use OPM, other people's money, and have somebody assist us with that. We're providing a place to live, also a place for live to ourselves. But now we're benefiting because if we get married, for example, not you and I, of course, but
Appreciate the offer.
absolutely, then that 3.5% comes out the window if you're a first-time home buyer.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I think that's very key when you in a relationship. Who you pick as a partner is key. Especially in wealth building, absolutely.
So that's a great topic, guys. So what we're talking about, just to kind of summarize, is where, if you're looking to buy a property individually without, going into a joint marriage or a joint application in a purchase, you could take advantage of purchasing properties individually using your own debt to income ratios and creating a cash flow and wealth that way. That way, once you do join forces, you're bringing more assets into that marriage.
Correct.
It's a partnership. It's also a business relationship. You should look at it
Yeah.
aside from the beautiful love that you create from that. But don't let go of that business mentality because it's at the end of the day you have tenants, which is a business transaction. You're filing taxes, which is another business transaction. You're trying to make sure you're financially putting yourself in the best position.
Yes,
right?
yeah. It's logic over emotion. We have to be emotionally logistical, right? We got to look at it that way because sometimes when we get into the emotion part, we want this, we want that, and we have this vision for ourselves. But there's a lot of steps that you could take advantage for that. And going back to the new money and the old money, for example, old money created a wealth a certain type of way that may not still be available to the new generation, for example.
Okay.
And so.
Can you give us an example? What do you think?
Sure, absolutely. So, look at my grandmother. I could say, hey, she bought that house for $32,000, where now it's worth maybe $280,000, for example. That doesn't exist right now, but maybe right now in the future stuff, we'll be like, hey, we bought that house for $280,000, and now it's worth $760,000.
Okay.
So we don't have essentially that's opportunities. And going back to the asset financial class, where the older generation, we worked in factories, we worked in mills, we had a pension that took care of us. Now that doesn't really exist unless if you're in a government or federal position. Now or less we have something called 401ks that kind of take advantage of us. And those are great tools, especially if they do match your employer does, which some of them do, some of them don't. But a very key is that you got to take care of these fees that are hidden besides these 401k plans. So it's important as a new generation because there's new ways to make money.
Okay.
You got shows, you have social media. There's so much ways where you can make money, income, and buy assets right now.
Okay.
And the older generation, maybe they didn't have, they have that. But it wasn't more a sense where like, hey, we're buying stuff just to say, hey, come see us, look at us. Back then, they were building and they were thinking generations ahead. Sometimes I think the newer generation right now just thinks for that quick short-term weekend, and that's kind of where that mix-up comes in. And again, not wrong or right,
No.
because it's old money and they made it their way, and there's new money and we're making it this way.
That's right.
And so the fusion between the two and kind of seeing looking ahead, follow where the money goes. And you'll be able to see, okay, hey, it's a good time to invest in this. Maybe the Airbnbs are right. Maybe the churros are good. Maybe we don't care about loyalty reward programs with hotels, so that Airbnb now becomes a factor.
Okay.
You know, so there's all these different aspects, but we have to be open to the possibilities.
And and that's amazing. So, Wilberto, what you're saying is, let's say the old money, they are thinking years ahead, but remember, they didn't have as many resources as what we do now. I mean, now everything's a click of a finger away.
Yes.
We can analyze this. We can have systems and different applications run these for us.
Correct.
So, for this old money to be able to be so well off, they did their homework really well.
Absolutely.
And I think that maybe the piece of it is, is this older generation able to now adapt to the new way of making money, or being able to now invest into the future long term of the next 50 years?
Correct. Yes.
You know?
Absolutely.
So, hey, guys, please, you better be taking notes. I hope this is the first page is already filled up, because this is very crucial information. I mean, any last little pieces on that little topic before we kind of move into the credit?
No, I was just tune in and learn about the old ways. History kind of tends to repeat itself.
Okay.
So it's something that we could take away from old money is how it was built and kind of where it's going.
Okay. So don't overlook it. Always maybe analyze it and use it to now get into the new generation. Now, before we kind of switch over, so new money, for example, like the crypto and the investments and the Airbnb, it's new opportunities, what you're talking about, where now you can invest now in order to set yourself up for the future, 50 years or 20 or 15 years, depending on your game plan, right?
The way to make money now is so much easier than what it was before.
Okay.
But it takes work.
It does.
And so if you're willing to make the commitment and put in the work, a lot of people say, I always say, like, they look at me as an overnight success. And when I talk sometimes, I always say, hey, I am a 22-year overnight success.
Okay.
You see what I have now, but it's been in the backbone of me continually working. I missed events in my life. I put in the work. What do you do behind closed doors? I've slept at my office. Where's the entrepreneurial stuff? I've slept in my vehicle to get to the next level, to the next stage. And so the opportunity is there for everybody, especially now in this age where it's buy now, click this. It's attention. Where's the attention going? And so if you're able to capitalize on that and be smart, be aware. I go to the mall, but I don't go to the mall to the shop. I look at, hey, where are people shopping? Oh, they're going to Lululemon? Let me look at Lululemon stock, and maybe I could invest something on there. I look at where people are eating. We're in an economy right now where inflation is at an all-time high. It's coming down a little bit, but the restaurants are still full. The malls are still full.
There's new ones opening up, and they're full.
Opening up. Yeah, so you got to see, okay, where's the money going to? And success leaves clues. There's a blueprint that you can follow. But you got to be open. You got to be aware to it. So.
And have like-minded people, or maybe people who have been in that game or are successful enough to be able to share that knowledge.
Yes.
This isn't something that you're able to just kind of stumble across on Google.
Correct.
But if you do, you don't know if it's backable, right? So so that's amazing. So guys, before we're switching on, it's very important just to kind of summarize is, it's very important. There's no right or wrong, right? It's new money, old money. It's just everybody's making money. At the end of the day, it's just a matter of making yourself open your eyes, see the opportunities, and make a smart financial decision to see how you can make a smart investment for a long-term retirement driver.
Yeah, like we're not after the money, we're after the opportunity of what money allows us to do, which is time and freedom. That's the main thing. Sure, money isn't important, but it's ranked up there with air and oxygen and health.
Okay,
it's
awesome.
up there.
It's up there. It's almost
absolutely. So you want to get to it, you want to amass it, and more importantly, you want to keep it
and know how to manage it.
Yeah.
So awesome, guys. So next topic, because I love this next topic. It's very important. It goes dear into my heart, is credit. How can you take credit, use credit to your advantage, right? How can you use credit to your advantage, guys? Very important topic. So, yes, for us, very important for you to buy a home. We need you to have credit, right? But it's very important for you to be able to manage that credit. Yes. So what do we need? At least a minimum 600 credit score for you to be able to qualify and buy a home, right? What are good train lines that you may have in order to create a credit score, right? Is a credit card, a student loan if you have one, an auto loan. Those are all liabilities at the end of the day, nothing that's generating you income, right? So how can we start using this credit to your advantage? How can we maybe get something out of all the expenses and everything that we spend every day in order to get something back, right? So, Wilberto, kind of let's drive the bus here. Let's go right into it.
Gotcha.
Talk to me, man.
Yep. So credit for me, my first experience with credit, I used to work at Foxwoods. That was my first job when I was 16 years old. I worked all through high school. And in the casino, there was an actual bank before. And that was my first checking account. It was with a credit union.
Okay.
So I walked in. I still remember her name. Her name is Lisa.
Okay.
And she got me into my credit journey. So she first came in. She said, hey, you open up the account. We have direct deposit, et cetera, et cetera. You should look at getting a secured credit card. And I was like, oh, a secured credit card, what is that? So basically, when you're young, at 16, or let's say you don't have to be, let's say you don't have any credit at all, you would need to build credit. So they started me off with a secured credit card. And what that is basically is that you put a deposit on a card, and then they report it to the 3 major credit bureaus. Okay. And then as you use it monthly, it reports, and after 6 months or so, as long as you paid on time and did everything well, they give you back your deposit, and now it turns it into an unsecured line. So I look at it as a gift card, right? It's preloaded, you use the gift card, then you pay it off, and now you have that money back. And she also opened up for me was a build a credit loan, which is the same thing, but just now in a loan format.
So an installment loan. So you have a fixed monthly payment.
Yep, and it's important to know, good thing, there's installment loans and there's credit cards, 2 of which report to the credit bureau, but 2 major important things. You could have $10,000 in credit cards and it's bad, but you could have $10,000 in installment loans and it's not bad, because the credit cards go into utilization ratio.
Correct.
Which we'll talk about later on. So once I learned that, I said, okay, cool. I got my money back and I started getting good credit. And you know how you got good credit when you start getting these little flyers in the mail. Discover sends you a flyer, Capital One, American Express,
You're
Chase.
pre-approved.
You're pre-approved. Sign here. Here's a numeration code. So I knew I was on my way. And still being young, so my Capital One Platinum, was that card.
Okay.
And Capital One Platinum is not the great card, but when you're young, you're like, hey, platinum I love
sounds
it.
good.
It sounds good to me. But it was a start, and it embarked me in my credit journey. I still have that credit card open today because it has the most history.
Exactly.
It has all these years of history of on-time payments and so forth. So never close your credit cards, if anything, because what that does is just cuts down your age and your credit history.
Which is one of the factors that influences the credit score,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. So, and again, hey, we're human, I'm human, you're human. I've gone through downfalls in my life. I've had bad credit. I've gone up on that roller coaster. I was at a 523, 4 something, paid late. But that was when I was younger and I didn't understand. I just thought, hey, I'll swipe a card, sure, pay it. Then
or never have to pay it.
Or never have to pay it, yeah. And there's something called interest that you don't really know about, but you're just making the $25 payments because that's what you could afford.
Yeah.
And so I made that mistake when I was younger, but because of that mistake, I've been able to learn and grow and teach because of the lessons that I've gone through.
Yep.
And so I really think that credit is super, super important. It's really what opens the doors for creating assets and wealth through real estate and all these other options.
And I'll give you a great example. I mean, I had family members who, for example, said, "Hey, I have $200,000. How much home can I buy, or how much can I borrow?"
Yeah.
The bank will only lend you $200,000. You got to deposit that in, and they'll lend you the money, like a secured credit card, right? Because you have no credit.
Exactly.
There's no employment history. There's nothing on paper that the bank is going to lend you money, because there's nothing for them to be able to say, you know what, there's enough factors or different factors in there, variable factors that are going to have you to repay us back, right? So, but then I say, hey, if you can have this $200,000, right, but you have credit score, you have employment history, you have good income, right? Now the bank's not going to lend you more than $200,000. You can put that towards the down payment to reduce the monthly payment and put yourself in a better position, right? So yes, down payment assets is very important. Income credit is the most important, because without credit, no lender is going to be able to look at your history and determine if you can repay that back.
Correct. It's important to understand what credit is composed of. So the biggest factor, the 2 biggest factors are payment history. You never, ever want to pay something late. Even if it's $25 or you got to borrow that money, you got to find some way to get that money to the creditor. Because if you miss that one payment, it's detrimental, and it takes months, sometimes years to get back to that 100%. So you have payment history, you have utilization rate, right? So
what does utilization mean? Just to explain it to everybody.
Sure, absolutely. So for example, if you have $10,000 of available credit, let's just do two scenarios, right? So person A has 1 credit card, and it's a limit of $10,000.
Okay.
If he uses the full $10,000, he's at 100% utilization ratio. Which for the lenders, they look at that as, hey, this guy's over leveraged. Maybe he doesn't know what he's doing.
He's depending more on the credit than his income.
Exactly. Now, person B, let's say person B has 10 credit cards and they're all 10,000, and he has the same $10,000 balance.
Spread out through each.
Or even one. He's at 10% utilization. Why? Because he has a total of 100,000 available. He's still using 10,000, which is person A is using 10,000, but now he's at 10%. So he's still below the threshold. You want to stay below 30% at max, and at max maybe 50, but you want to pay your credit cards off in full every month anyway, because why should you pay 15, 20, 25, 30, 35% interest to somebody?
Yep.
Unless it's an absolute emergency, which we know it happens. We've been there, right? But overall, you want to avoid that. So that's what utilization ratio is. And the more credit cards you have, the less chance that you have to go up, as long as you're responsible with your money. So we got to make that very clear. You have to be responsible with this money. You have to be responsible with your debt. And so that's the second factor. You want to go into something?
Yes, I wanted to touch up on that because it's very important when we're qualifying somebody. It's all about debt to income ratios, right?
Yes.
So I'll give you a great example. Definitely work with a loan officer, work with your lender. Be happy to help. Is understand which credit cards you should pay off or which ones have more of an impact on your purchasing power.
Yes.
Give you a great example, Wilberto, is you can have 2 credit cards. One of them could have a $7,000 balance, okay, with a monthly payment of $25, okay? And you can have a credit card of $5,000, but have a monthly payment of $100.
Yep.
So anybody in the rate, that doesn't understand it says, oh, I'm going to pay off the highest balance credit card. But what we look at is not the total balance. We look at the minimum monthly payment, what's reporting on your credit report, and that's what we use on your debt to income ratio.
Yes.
So in this case, it's better off paying off the higher balance, right?
Correct.
Because you have a lower monthly payment.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So, or vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely. One key, this is the biggest gem that people don't know about. Sometimes they pay the credit card off in full, but their score doesn't change or reflect because why? They made the payment on the due date. What you need to look at is the statement date. The statement date is when the credit bureau reports to the credit, right? So if Amex, if I pay Amex on the 28th, but their statement date is on the 20th, if I had a balance of 10,000, Amex is going to report to TransUnion, Equifax, Experian that I owe 10,000, even though I paid it off on the 28th. So I'm thinking, hey, it's a zero balance. But Amex already reported. So you want to get that hack. That's another tool that you could use, is pay it before the statement date. That way it reflects that actual balance that you want it to reflect. And that's a cool hack that you could use to play around to kind of get you below that threshold, which will increase your score immediately. A lot of the gurus say, hell, make 2 or 3 payments and you'll be good.
A month.
You only get 1 payment reported monthly.
Okay.
Only 1. But the joke is, or the trick is that you paid it off on that statement date, so report a lower balance. So open up your statement balance, February 16th through March 16th. 16th might be that statement date. Pay it off by the 16th, and you'll see it reflects a zero balance if you pay it off in full.
Amazing. So to recap, guys, please focus on the statement, the credit card statement date.
Yep.
That's the actual date that the credit card is going to report the balance showing on that date to the credit bureaus, which influences your credit score.
Yes.
Right. So yes, paying on time is important, but also understanding when your credit card statement date is the most important piece, because if you want to start playing and manipulating your credit, know when that date is, pay off the balance before, so it reflects that balance.
Yeah. And if you're still confused, it says in layman's terms statement date, but if you're still confused and you want to ease your hack, just go to Credit Karma. We use this as a base, not it's the end all be all. Okay, so don't think Credit Karma is my Credit Karma is 640, I'm a 640. No, it's just a tool.
Usually 30-40 points off, right?
Correct. Because Credit Karma uses a Vantage score, which is different than a FICO score.
Right.
Okay, but go to Credit Karma, use it as a tool. Okay, so go to Credit Karma, you'll go into utilization, and then you'll see all your accounts. Click on each account, and it shows you what the statement date is. So that might be easier hack as opposed to logging into each credit card individually. Okay. Just go to Credit Karma, and you'll see it there. And since we're on that topic, before I go back to the other part, so Vantage score, right? That's what there's a Vantage score and a FICO score.
So what does that mean? Tell me.
Sure. So it's composed. A lot of people think about, hey, my credit score is 690. I'm good. Or 720, and I'm fine. 740. When you look at a FICO score, the FICO score gives you an actual real profile of who you are as an individual. Okay, so your score is just a score. It's not the end all be all. Your profile gives you a different story that the lenders look at. Okay, so how did you handle that card payment? What's the highest amount of car payment have you had as far as loan-wise? Did you only get a $30,000 loan? Did you get a $60,000 loan or $90,000? How many times have you had history paying off these loans, whether it's installment, whether it's a credit card, whether mortgage? So there's all these different factors that make your credit profile. And so your profile is not just a number, even though that's what most people look at, but it's all these different details on the back end. And that's what the FICO does. The FICO is actually a true score that shows you what that is. And it's generally, like you said, 30 to 40% higher, points higher, I should say, than the actual Vantage.
And I love it. So, I mean, in talking about credit pulls, right, I get a lot of clients who, when we pre-approve somebody or any lender pre-approve somebody, is very important to take a full picture of everything, right? Understanding, taking a look at the credit report, all the income documents, because we want to take a full analysis of your income, right? So hard inquiry when we pull your credit. I get a lot of people who get scared when we pull credit. And think about it this way: first, you take care of your credit for the biggest investment of your life. It's to buy the first home. Well, congratulations, we're here. So we have to pull the credit to start getting into that first step, right? So that's the first. Second, when we pull your credit, for a mortgage, it's actually not that much of an impact when you compare it to a credit card, an auto loan, or a personal. Why? Because it's considered for housing, it's a necessity, right? Correct. So the impact on your credit will be minimal compared to other credit pulls, which, the first step is, speaking to a lender, seeing where you guys stand. If you need to work on your credit, it's taking a look at that credit report, maybe running it through a credit simulator, telling you what exactly you need to do to then get it up higher, or speaking to a professional and saying, hey, listen, let me take a look at it, let me analyze it and say, this is what you need to do.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. And so, so the last remaining factors, we talked about the payment history, we talked about utilization, there's credit mix, there's the inquiries, and there's the age.
Okay.
So the age, for example, right? Why do I still have my Capital Platinum card open? It's because it has, let's say, almost 18 years of credit history. Yeah. So if I only had that one card, it would show 18 years. That's my oldest account. Let's say, for example, if I only had 2 cards, depending on what scoring model you may look at, if I open up an account 18 years ago and I opened up one today, now my average of the 2 is 9, even though my oldest is 18. Okay, so that's another factor that you can look at. Okay. Credit mix, like you just mentioned, vehicles, installments, mortgage, credit. Who are, right? You might be looking at Visa, MasterCard. Yeah. Do you have something with Discover? Do you have something with American Express? Do you have something with Barclays? Right, because all these guys have different standards of credit that they look for. Okay. And then we talked about the age and then utilization and then inquiries. Yeah.
So I mean, awesome. So guys, I think now we got a whole notebook full right there. Absolutely. I mean, come on, that iPad must be going down low or full of gigs because you know what, this is valuable, guys. And I think before we switch or move on from this credit topic, I know you've got some more knowledge and peace in you. Sure, yeah. So tell me a little bit of how now we can start using, so we understand what factors make up your credit score, how important it is for you to manage your credit cards, your personal loans, just your credit in whole and together, right? But what's the best way for us to be able to use credit if we have daily expenses, if we have a business, we have an Airbnb where we have to spend money in order to be operational, right? To make it work. Absolutely. So how can we now use credit and leverage it in our best way?
Absolutely. That's my specialty. I'm glad you brought that up. So in one of our classes that we teach is how to utilize this credit. Okay. A lot of people still think cash is king, and to a certain degree, yes, it is, up to a certain amount, and that's later on. But for other part is, don't pay with debit, pay with credit. Okay, credit also gives you insurance, depending on which kind of credit card that you have, that allows you to extend the warranty, allows you to return something if something is damaged because you bought it with that specific credit card, or lost luggage, you're protected. So it's another layer of protection that the debit card does not give. Okay, there's many credit cards that give you points, miles, cash back. There's 0% balance transfers, and so you want to learn how to play this game. There's rules to this. Okay. So let's start with 0% or balance transfer. Okay. We'll break that one down. We'll break them each of them down. A 0% means you're financing whatever amount on that card at 0 interest. Some of these could be 12 months, 18 months, 21 months. Some store cards also offer them. Maybe Raymore Flanagan, you bought something, Best Buy, etc. But the biggest ones are like Wells Fargo, Citi, and certain intro cards at the bank will allow you to get 0% interest or balance transfer. Now, the balance transfer is a big hack that you could use, because if you have a balance of $10,000 at 29% and you open up this new card at 0%, and you could transfer that balance from 29% interest to a 0% interest, now you're saving money on the monthly payment, because of 0% interest on that dollar amount, 10,000 for example, and you're saving interest in the long run, because most people just pay the minimum payment. Okay, and it's going to take you a year, 2 years, maybe 3 or 5, depending on how big that balance is, to pay that off. And we don't see that. We just see, hey, $25. We're operating on a certain budget. Maybe we might be maxed out. And again, if you're doing a hardship during that time, I understand. But if there's no hardship, there's no reason why you should have a balance. So we took care of that one. Every month we have fixed monthly expenses.
Okay.
So another thing that
what does that mean?
Sure. What we teach in our class is, when you get that credit card, don't go buy the TV. Don't put those rims on the car. Don't buy. Don't put the tints on the car, stuff like that. The big stereo system.
Or before you go to closing, don't go to Jordan's Furniture and pull a credit card and max it out with the furniture, because it's not your home yet, guys.
When you have a pre-approval, do not touch anything. Do not inquire about nothing, because your approval was based upon your score at the time that they pulled it.
Yes.
So going back to these fixed expenses, okay, every month, outside of our mortgage, even though there's a credit card that you could pay mortgage on, I'll get to that later on, we're going to have what? Car insurance. We're going to have gas, maybe maintenance. We're going to have food, some type of entertainment, our streaming things that we use, whether that's Hulu, Netflix, Amazon, Apple Play, our internet, our Comcast, and our cell phones. Okay, so those are fixed expenses, meaning they're not going to change, meaning they're a necessity to life, right? We need food, we need a housing, we need insurance, we need internet, stuff to operate. So usually those monthly expenses are not going to change. Now, instead of paying with a debit card, what you're going to do is pay with a credit card, so that you could get rewarded for your spending.
The spending that you already have to
are
spend.
doing. Yes, you already have to do. I'm not saying, again, don't buy that Burberry coat or get that Rolex or the rims on the car. These are fixed monthly expenses that don't change. All you're doing is changing the method of how we pay. Instead of paying with the debit and getting no rewards, we're paying with the credit, and now we're taking the money that was already in the bank and paying off the credit card. Okay. So we got to make that distinction, because if you don't pay that off, it's not a win-win for you.
That's right.
Okay. So what that allows us to do is open up cards as your credit gets better. It exposes you to another realm of money making. Okay. I haven't paid for a flight in like 5, 6, 7 years. Okay. Hotels, stay in them for free. Why? I'm rewarded based upon my spending. And you don't have to be a business owner. You don't have to have a mega, company as an individual, because we still have those expenses, right? Gas, food, utilities. Now I can utilize that JetBlue card, for example, and get paid in miles.
Okay.
So now my $2,000 that are fixed monthly expenses on the low end, some people might be $5,000, some people might be $1,500. So whatever your budget is, you'll know what that is.
Okay.
But let's just use an even $2,000, simple number. $2,000 a month. By 12 months, that's $24,000 a year that I have in expenses. Fixed monthly expenses. Clear that up.
Fixed. That have to go out either way.
They have to go out either way. Now what's happening is, on the low case base scenario, I'm now getting either 24,000 points or 24,000 miles, depending on which card I'm using. Okay. On a base case scenario, because some credit cards have multipliers, where let's say you went shopping, they're gonna 3 times the amount that you spent on groceries.
On that location or this type of purchase.
Restaurants or gas. Every credit card has their way. So you're going to find which one is the best for you.
Maybe golfing.
Absolutely, right? Absolutely. So now those 24,000 points, $1,000 turn into 24,000 points. Now, each of these credit cards, they have a promotion within the first 3 months. So let's say Barclays, JetBlue, or Southwest or Delta, if you whatever preferred airline you want, specific airline credit card. Now let's say, hey, you spend $1,000 within the first 90 days. We're gonna bonus you 80,000 points or 100,000 points. So I didn't do anything different than my normal lifestyle. I just changed how I was paying.
Okay.
So now I'm going to use my Delta credit card, or I'm going to use my JetBlue credit card, or my Southwest credit card. I already have $2,000 in fixed expenses anyway, so within the first month, I'm already going to qualify.
I'm going to focus it more on this one.
Correct. And I'm already going to qualify because my expenses are $2,000. They're saying, hey, spend $1,000 in 90 days. My monthly expenses are already $2,000.
So you're winning already.
So I'm already winning. I'm ahead. Now I got $80,000 points.
On top of already the $24,000 and minimum that you would
You're
get at the
spending
end of the
annually.
year.
Yep. Now I could travel for free. I could book a ticket with miles for me and my family.
Okay.
And if you're a family of 4, that adds up.
That adds up real quick.
So depends on where you're going. There's going to be different prices and different promotions that they run. So, let's say 40,000 points to go to Florida or go to Santo Domingo or San Juan, Puerto Rico, or Colombia. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For free. Why? Because all I did was just change the method of payment.
Okay.
Now, important, you need to pay off this credit card every month.
Please. Very important.
Because if you don't pay it off, then it wasn't for free. Because after the intro period, they're going to charge you 29%. And I always say, it doesn't matter what your interest rate is because you're going to pay off that card every month. But now if you don't pay off that credit now the interest rate really does matter. So that's one of them. That's your travel credit card.
So that's good. So what you're saying is, also make sure you execute, right?
Absolutely.
Not only just now getting yourself into a hole, because you could potentially get yourself into a really quick hole.
Yes.
But just be disciplined enough to say, hey,
Absolutely.
this is my expenditures. This is what I have to pay. I'm
Absolutely.
not, going to, not pay.
Correct. So there's cash back ones. Those are ones that give you cash back. So the best one, in my opinion, is Discover. It gives you 5%. What they do is that in the first year, they match whatever you spent in cash back.
The whole year?
The whole year. So, for example, let's say you did $1,000 in cash back money. At the end of the anniversary year, they're going to give you another $1,000 as a bonus.
Okay.
That's for your first year. So that's your cash back one that I love. JetBlue, for example, they give you anniversary points. There's always this little perk that they give after every anniversary. Let's talk about points now, like Chase Sapphire Reserve, American Express Platinum, American Express Gold. These give you points, big points, mega bonuses. In hotels, I forgot about that one. Marriott, for example, or Hilton. Hilton is through American Express. Marriott is through Chase.
Okay.
Same thing, right? We traveled. Now we got that credit card to travel. Now we need a place to stay. Let's get that Marriott Bonvoy credit card.
Part of the traveling expense.
Exactly. And now, same thing. I did my promotion of $3,000. The hotel one or the points ones are usually a bit more than the miles one.
Okay.
So
you got to spend a little more.
I got to spend a little bit more, but I'm already spending it again anyway.
If you're you're taking care of this, you're not going crazy.
Correct.
This is what you're in your budgeting for. This is what you're budgeting.
So those, again, there's basic cards, mid-tier, and premier. So now those big premier ones, for example, the Platinum, the Gold, the Chase Sapphire Reserve. Now they require you to spend a little bit more. So let's say that intro is $5,000 within the first 90 days. Again, if I'm spending $2,000 a month without doing anything different, by the third month I'll meet that criteria spend, and they give big bonuses. They give like 150,000 points.
Okay.
Okay.
550,000.
150,000.
150,000.
Yeah. Which is
I
still
was asking
big.
for a little more. Come on.
Hey, I'll bring that up to Chase. I'll let them know.
Where do I sign?
Put a note. So now the difference between that credit card is that credit card allows you to use anywhere.
Okay.
So the Marriott one is for Marriott hotels, which is, it composes of their umbrella chain. Same thing with the Hilton one. But the Sapphire Reserve and the Amex ones, you could use these points for anything.
Okay.
You could book travel. You could book restaurants. You could use that for cash back. You could buy gift cards. So you're not limited.
Transferable
It's
points.
transferable, yeah. You're not limited to the dedicated Delta credit card or the JetBlue credit card.
Where you got to travel with them.
Correct. And so one thing that I want to get out of the way is what people kind of have the resistance on is the annual fee. Okay. So
convince me why I should consider or pay an annual fee. I mean, an annual fee?
Annual fee, Mr.
You want me to
Cordova,
pay an annual fee?
I
Please.
absolutely would
Sell
love
me on
for
this,
you
please.
to pay this fee. Why? Because the benefits outweigh that fee. Let's go back to the JetBlue one. JetBlue has 2 cards, the regular and the Plus.
Okay.
The Plus is a $99 annual fee.
Okay.
However, you as the credit card owner, anybody that's on your itinerary will get some free luggage.
Okay.
And now if in this time of age, you got to pay $30, $35 for your maleta, which is your luggage, right? It's not free anymore. It's not included.
Okay.
So that's an additional $30 one way. $30 one way, $30 a second
And just to
way.
recap,
That's
these are just
$60.
sample numbers. We're just
Sure.
shooting numbers out
Absolutely. So as a family of 4 or 2 or 3 or anybody in that itinerary, I'll give you the game sample too. Anybody in that itinerary is going to get the same benefits as you. So now you just save $60, your wife just pays $60, and your daughter just saves $60 on just fees for luggage.
So that makes up for the
for a
annual fee.
$99 annual fee. And you got the points. So sometimes what do these flights cost? 300, 400, 500. You just got 3, 4 free flights out of that. So that's how you get over that hump of the annual fee.
Okay.
Now a platinum is a higher fee. Platinum is like $695.
Okay.
So that's a big sell. But same process. As an American Express Platinum, they give you something called Clear. They reimburse you for that. They give you $100 credit at Saks Fifth. So there's all, they give you food credit. They give you travel credit.
Okay.
So as long as you utilize it in the right way, these fees, they don't mean anything because you're able to use the rewards that pay for more than the annual fee itself.
Okay. Okay.
Now, let's say you do try this credit card out and you don't like it. You say, hey, you know what? I don't want to do the $60.95. Don't close the account. What you're going to do is just ask for a downgrade. Say, hey, I don't want the platinum. Give me the blue because the blue is $0.
Okay, so you can go down in
categories. So you can go down,
categories.
still keep the history.
Okay. Oh, it keeps that line
Keeps the
open.
history.
Thankfully. Okay, so this is good for us.
Correct, yeah. So you're just downloading. So the platinum is good for traveling. The gold is good for dining. All these credit cards have different perks, and you want to utilize them for those specific things.
However you spend your money.
Yeah. Now the biggest hack, all right?
Tune in, guys, please. So the biggest hack, and this is a big one, guys.
Right? Our monthly expenses are the same.
Yep.
You get one, and then now your wife gets one.
Credit card.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you got the JetBlue.
Okay.
Your wife got the JetBlue.
Okay.
You wait the 3 months, right? Because you don't want to go overboard. You still
So
got your
two
fixed
separate,
monthly
we're not
two
joint.
separate, right? Yeah.
Okay.
So you got that credit card. You got your 80,000 points from JetBlue based upon your monthly expenses that didn't change.
Okay.
Now you tell your wife, hey, you get the JetBlue credit card, and you get a referral fee for referring her, so you get a bonus. And she does the same expenses because they're not changed. You're in the same household, and now she got 80,000 points. And now combined, you got 160,000 points, and that's like free travel.
Okay.
Hands down.
Guys, wow, guys, blown minds here.
Yeah.
Jeez, so, this is amazing, guys. So, aside from first knowing how to manage credit, because it's very important. It can be a very quick downfall if you don't know how to manage it. But once you master it, or if you're able to connect with a professional, be able to kind of pick our brains and be able to say, hey, what's the right step or what's the right way? There's an advantage, a huge advantage where you can use credit to your advantage.
Correct.
You can actually, consider these expenses and implement them into the credit to reward yourself for the expenses that you naturally have to spend anyways, right?
And if you're a business owner, then that just compounds because business owners have big
More
expenses.
expenses, okay.
So all depends on your income level.
Okay.
And again, you hit the nail on the head. The most important part is, let's say you're the good person, you pay on time, they don't like you.
Yeah.
But let's say me, I pay late, I just pay the minimum fee.
Yeah.
They love me.
That's what
and
they
now
want.
it's no longer free. Now it's no longer free travel. Now it's no longer free stays because now they're getting 29% interest on me.
And now
that's when it's a big issue.
And now you're trying to catch up.
And it's a big thing. So with great power comes
Great responsibility. Yep.
Absolutely.
So with great credit comes great responsibility.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So guys, that's a great topic. I mean, credit, that's huge. So we have new money versus old money. Great topic. Next topic was, how can you use credit to your advantage? A lot of different ways that we were able to pick Wilberto's brain and educate ourselves. But just to touch on the last topic briefly is mindset, right? Because I think what we just spoke about, having the mindset to either make money in the old way or the new way and knowing how to manage credit, you've got to be disciplined. You have to have a good mindset and a good resources around you to be able to lean on, ask questions, and be able to take advice on to propel you into the right path, right? So quickly, what kind of mindset do you advise us? What's kind of the best way that somebody should be thinking about while they're in the process of wanting to become financially independent?
Sure. Very important key is that when we're 16, we don't really have any expenses.
I remember
technically.
those days.
Right? Yeah. Man, I love those days.
Just 2 years ago?
Yeah, right? So if the earlier on you're able to learn this, the more easier it becomes. Because when you are in your 30s or your 40s and your 50s, that's when things kind of start to make sense financially. You know, you mature at different levels, and what used to be important is no longer important, and how you spend is differently. You know, so we're not born with debt, but then debt is actually created. So it's important to understand these factors at a young age. So you want to surround yourself with people who have those abilities, right? So if someone is an investor, real estate investor,
Okay.
and they have, you know, let's say 30 doors or 50 doors, you know, you want to be that person. You want to get around that individual and say, hey, how you do it? What I found with wealth is those that do have it, they want to share it. They want to share how they did it, especially those that came from nothing, especially those guys.
Yes.
And those are your mentors. And I've had many mentors in my life.
Me too.
And I will continue to have mentors and be a mentor myself, because that's how I got into this position in my life. And so you want to get around those individuals, and they're going to tell you, right? I'm sorry, Uncle Joe. You know, I appreciate your advice. You told me not to buy a house right now, but you know, Billy, he just signed a 30 apartment contract. You know,
Yeah.
and that's big, right? We could just say, hey, this person bought a three decker, right? And he has a portfolio of 10 triple deckers
Of units, right?
Absolutely. So each door, it matters.
Yes.
Each door is important, and you want to get as many doors as you can. There's different ways to create wealth.
Okay.
Okay. So we look at, again, going back to old money or the new money. Real estate will still be key. Real estate and investments, the stock market, is still a key, crucial component of wealth building.
Okay.
Okay. Same thing with being an entrepreneur, starting a business, and at the end of the day, it kind of still trickles down to where? Real estate. We need a place to live, just a place to eat,
Place to work out
a
of.
place to work, everywhere. Airbnb, to travel, vacation. So real estate will always be the number one. And what I tell people is just be careful who you get advice from. There's no wrong or right way, just where you want to go. So that's why you have to have that mindset, first of all. So let's just break down real estate, for example. There's a flipper, right? Maybe there's a wholesaler, and maybe there's that person that says, hey, we buy and hold. None of them are wrong. But if you talk to the flipper's going to tell you what? Hey, all I do is buy and flip.
That's the way you should do. This
Do the
is how
bird
you-
method, you know, put lipstick on the pig, and all we do is flip. We don't do that buy and hold stuff. And he's not wrong. There's no right, but that's just how he did it.
That's the way he makes his money.
Correct. And the same thing with the buy and hold strategy person. He's going to say, hey, all we do is buy and hold these doors. They appreciate over time. We refinance, take the money, we duplicate it, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
And those people will say, hey, we don't do the stock market at all. Why? Because that's their specialty.
Yep.
What you want to have is a well-diversified portfolio. You want to have a little bit of everything. You want to have some money in the market. Right now, the market is tanking. It's on its way down. We're essentially in a bear market. But that's where the most money is made, right? People are scared of that because they could see the money get lower.
Diminish.
Yeah. You can't really see your house value go down unless if you're on Zillow every day, but we don't want trust Zillow anyway.
So that's powerful. You're saying you can actually see the numbers and
Yeah,
see it diminish.
absolutely.
Where in value, real estate, it's a long-term
It's a
effect.
long-term effect. You're not really thinking about it until it comes time to sell. Then you go to appraisal and see what's going on. So it's really important to be disciplined when it comes to assets, when it comes to investing, and those two are the main components. Okay. Now, outside of that, we have the 401k, we have a Roth IRA, individual retirement accounts, we have a self-directed or a backdoor 401k. There's ways of Airbnb, Truro. Alternative assets such as collectibles like Picasso's, paintings, high-end jewelry, exotic vehicles or old vehicles. So
it's sorry to cut in there, but so for example, I'll give you a great example. What's a good example of somebody or something that maybe is perceived as a liability, maybe a luxury item that you bought, but if you're well-knowledged into what you're purchasing, that's an asset.
Yes.
That's something that's actually growing equity and value every year.
Correct. So assets, let's make that distinction then too, just for the viewers. Assets puts money in your pocket or enlarges your net worth. Liabilities takes away from you. You could come to the argument of your own house might be a liability because you're not getting any money from it, but at the same time you're getting some assets. So a lot of those uncoverables, like we said, for high-end jewelry, let's say Rolex, for example. We say Rolex is one of the most popular timepieces that everybody's well aware of. If you go to the store today and try to get a Rolex, you can't. Okay, the wait list is out the door. Okay, but if you're fortunate enough to get a Rolex, specific pieces, by the way, and you walk out that store with, let's say, a stainless steel white-faced Daytona, or a Pepsi, or a Batman, a Submariner or a GMT. When you walk out that door, you just doubled or tripled in value, depending on which one that you got.
So, compared to, let's say you buy a vehicle.
Yes.
And you drive off that lot.
Yes.
That depreciates.
As soon as you turn on that key and you drive and you put a mile on that car, it's no longer a new car. It's used, and you're going to get maybe KBB value.
Hold on a second. So you're telling me I bought a brand new car, driving off the lot, and it depreciates that quickly?
Sure, absolutely. Again, now it depends on the car.
No,
right?
but the majority.
But the majority,
Yes,
90%, 95% of those cars, and you turn on that key, everybody wants to flex. I haven't bought a new car since 2005.
Okay.
I buy CPO, or I rock the wheels off the one I had. The last car that I had, which was my S550 that unfortunately I crashed, had 268,000 miles on that car.
A Mercedes-Benz that had many miles, but you maintained it. It's a vehicle.
Did all the work at the service, and guess what? Unfortunately, I did total it. I totaled it at the height of when the cars were doing
with
good.
the whole pandemic.
I got a $38,000 check for that car.
Okay.
It shouldn't have no reason, no business getting that much money for that car.
But that's a car. So for example, that's in a rare case.
Exactly. But that car brand new was like 120.
Okay.
So obviously it depreciated. But for the general public.
Or for example, now let's look at the watch. You buy a watch that's worth this amount of money.
Yes.
Does it go down once you walk out the store? It doesn't go down.
No. So specifically, so let's say Rolex, for example. We can't say, hey, I'm going to go buy a Casio and get the same result. No. That Daytona right now sells, and the Rolex just did a release 2 days ago. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Every year in March, end of March, they send out their new releases. What watches are coming in, what watches are being discontinued.
Okay.
And that's what creates that demand, right? You can no longer get this watch, right?
Okay.
Supply and demand. We know that game, right?
Yep.
Why did the values of the houses increase? There was too much supply, or too much demand, and not enough supply.
Right now, what we're living in is there's a shortage of supply. There's a high demand, which isn't causing the prices to go down. It's causing the prices to go up.
Exactly. So Rolex only makes a fixed amount of watches annually, and every year they have a price increase. Every year. So that Daytona, for example, stainless steel with the white face, is $15,150, for example, right now. Yep. A couple years ago, maybe 5 years ago, it was $12,500.
$12,500.
Yeah, now it's at $15,000. If you're able to get that watch and you walk out that door with that watch right now is selling for $36,000 on the secondary.
Okay.
So you just doubled in some change on that.
That's great news.
Yeah, but how would you know that? You have to surround yourself with the right people, have this mindset, and understand how this works. Because the average person might be thinking, hey, what did the Kardashians do? What's the trending Netflix show? And if that's where our attention is, then we're
our
not really
only piece of knowledge that we're getting.
Correct. Then we're not really focused on building wealth, and because that is taking too much of our time. So you want to surround yourself with these right people. Again, going back to the mindset, who can I replicate or duplicate that I want to be like? So if I want to be like Cordova, hey, dress real nice. I have to, save at least 10% of my income and put it away and build up my emergency fund.
Be successful, man.
Be successful.
And one thing is, so my father, a great advice that he always gave me, he said, you want to be successful, you hang around successful people.
Yeah. Success leaves clues. Yeah. There's a blueprint, and they didn't get there by mistake. When you talk about success, for example, everybody's self-made, but only the successful admit it. Right? So we're all a product of our decisions. We're a product of who we hang around with. What conversations, when I hang out with my friends, I want to say, hey, how's your portfolio doing? What? Oh, you got 28% return? What did you buy? I want to have those conversations. And I want to say, hey, there's this new product, AI is coming out. Hey, YouTube, Google, there's all these different products that we can look at. So don't just buy the iPhone. Buy the Apple stock, AAPL, on the stock market. Become an owner of what you buy. And so even when it comes to investing, not financial advice, but look at where you spend your money. And chances are where you spend your money, everybody else is spending your money. And that might be a way for you to buy stocks individually. although we recommend just buying an S&P 500. You don't take the guesswork out. But buying individual stocks is more sexier than buying just a regular low and slow in the long run game, which is the S&P 500. Just buy an index fund and you're good to go. So again, how you get around those people is mindset.
Yeah.
If I want to buy a home, I have to think, who do I have to become in order to buy that house? What process do I have to be in place? So I got to work on my credit. If it's bad, you go to a specialist, right? What would you recommend?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. So the first question that I ask is, similar. Not so much what's your mindset right now, but what's your goal? What's your plan?
Yes.
Is this your one and only home? You're going to live here forever? Or is this first of many? Building a portfolio. Then we approach it that way. We look at, okay, well, if you want to have multiple homes, then this is the path, right? You should start with multifamilies.
Yes.
Maybe a 4, then a 3, then a 2, then a 1. You have now multiple units that are cash flowing and paying themselves off, right? But yeah, aside from all that, I mean, what we're looking at is basic factors. The credit score, yes, the credit score is important. 600 and above, right? We can run it through a credit simulator or connect you with a credit specialist who can get you up to that score. Employment history, very important. We always look 2 years back, right? A lot of people have the misconception that you need to be working at the same employer for the past 2 years. No, you can have 1, 2, 3, or 4 jobs. More paperwork, but the important piece is that there is no gap. Right? No gap of employment where you didn't work. That could be tricky. The next piece is the income, my favorite piece. I look at your tax returns, W-2s, pay stubs, all the documentation to then do this income analysis and say, hey, this is the maximum amount that we can use based off of the paperwork. And now is where we determine how much you can afford, how much you can pay. Right? There's a certain percentage of your monthly income that you can put towards a mortgage payment. So based on your credit, based on all these different factors, is what determines which loan program we can put you in which percentage of debt to income we can get you up to.
Correct.
Right?
Now, this is your show, but I want to pass some stuff back on to you. So, like, everybody thinks there's a barrier to entry. Like, you have to have this and you have to have that. You have to be a 700 or 800 score. I have to have, like, hundreds of thousands of dollars to put on a down payment. What's that process like for someone who really doesn't have that much but wants to get in, wants to get that bite of the pie?
I love it because, and I think that the misconception is that it seems too impossible, it seems too hard. It isn't. There's 5 simple factors. It's the credit score above a 600. It's the employment history. It's the income. The income piece of it is important if you're a W-2 wage earner or if you're self-employed. If you're self-employed, there's a double-edged sword, right? You declare too much, well, you're going to have to pay Uncle Sam his portion, right? But you're going to be able to get into a nice home.
Yes.
You declare too little, you don't pay any taxes, maybe you get something back, but you're not buying a home. You're staying in your car or you're paying somebody else's mortgage, your landlord's. But the down payment, the barrier to entry really isn't that high. Once we figure out, okay, what type of property you want to buy, which loan program you can fit into, there's different programs. For example, you can buy a home with 0% down.
Really?
100% financing, Wilberto. I mean, amazing. Good and bad. Good, you get yourself into a home with 0 down. Bad, you're 100% in debt. Right?
And
so
PMI.
And PMI. And the rate is a little higher and it's higher cost.
Trade-off.
And trade-offs, exactly. And it limits you to a lesser amount, right? But if you have some money saved up, if you can put some skin in the game, like we say, it's so much better. Why? You can get yourself into an FHA 3.5% down or a conventional 3% or 5% down and lower the interest rate, make it more easy for you, flexible, and get you into a good loan program at a lower rate. So it isn't that hard. I mean, I think maybe our culture puts it in a harder perspective, and that's the type of mindset that generations before had. But it really isn't hard. It's a matter of getting together with a professional, like you said, taking the advice, sitting down, seeing where you stand, and seeing what's your maximum amount that you can qualify for.
I agree. I think you don't know what you don't know. And sometimes when you take that time to investigate and learn more, you're like, oh, really? This is all I had to do? Like, you're like, you have all this fear and anxiety over something, and then once you know what it is, you're like, wow, that was it. Like, that was it. Piece of cake. It was that simple. But we have this buildup sometimes not through our experiences, but through other people's experiences. And so that person had a bad time buying a home. That person maybe bought at the height of 08, 09 or whatever. They were over leveraged. But those are very far in between examples, and maybe they just weren't protected at the right time, or they didn't have the right guidance such as yourself.
Correct. Which now it's so much harder to lend. So
Yes.
the advice is, I mean, the '07, the '08 crisis was different. I mean, people didn't have to show anything to buy.
Yeah. Back in that time, I was working with Citigroup.
Okay.
And we used to do a lot of loans. We did a lot of our own underwriting.
Yeah.
My next door neighbor was Countrywide. And what ended up happening is we stopped. We stopped lending. All we focused on at that time was adjustment of terms. And we had 13 branches in Connecticut, and we went down to 3. So Central, Western, and Eastern Connecticut. And we ended up becoming debt servicers of our loans that we were doing. But that was a crazy, crazy period. I don't think it'll be as that bad. Now we have like a little banking crisis right now. But, again, history kind of repeats itself. But those requirements are now in place because of what happened back then. So it's not as easy to do what happened.
Exactly. So now, I mean, the only thing I'm not asking for is your blood, your hair, or your nails, right? I'm asking for every document that I need in order, to make sure. Think about it. I make it a good investment. So, for example, think about it if you were to lend me money, right? If you're putting your own money that you've worked very hard for and letting somebody borrow it, wouldn't you want to know everything about them?
Correct.
The credit, what's their capability of paying back? What's their history of paying? Think about it that way. It's an investment, same way. So for you to be most attractive in the factors that we spoke about, credit, employment history, and all that good stuff, that's the first step, is just figuring out what you need. And then from there, well, where do you stand? Or what do I need to work on?
How does it make you feel when you get that, for that first-time home buyer? How does that make you feel that you facilitated that transaction? You were able to put them in their home, maybe complete the American dream per se. How does that make you feel on the back end?
Oh man, I love it, man. That's why I do it, right? It's a very stressful job. What we do, the numbers and the crunching, and now we're dealing with all parties, and we're driving the bus. We got to make sure this deal gets to the closing table. So it's very stressful. But the most satisfying piece of it is at the closing table, or when we get that clear to close, and I get that notification. I can call you and say, hey, listen, you are clear to close. We can bring you to the closing table. That's the best feeling, because now that hard effort, all that hard work, all that stress that the clients have also been through, because it's a stressful process, it all comes to light, right? It's all worth it. And yes, we make some good money. It's lucrative at what we do. It costs, and it's great. But it feels just as good for a family member to say, thank you, Sebastian. You were able to put me and my family into this beautiful home and change my life. That is just as good as any dollar that I think anybody could earn.
Absolutely.
So that's powerful.
How did Mr. Clear to Close come about? I was always interested in that story.
So Mr. Clear to Close came is because, all the realtors, and whenever you're in the middle of a transaction, whenever you hear clear to close, that means that everybody's getting paid. It means that the bank has cleared every condition, and that they have no more requirements from the borrower, from the lender, or from the property, the seller, that they are ready to dish out the money, to wire the money and get you to the closing table. So for me, I said, well, how good does it feel to tell somebody that you're clear to close? Feels just as good as saying, I'm Mr. Clear to Close.
Mr. Clear to Close. I love it. I love it. Amazing.
But no, Wilberto, I appreciate the questions, man, because it's good. And I think that everybody was able to take some very good knowledge out of this. New money, old money, how you can take credit to your advantage. But then most important is the mindset. What kind of mindset should you have in order to get yourself into financial independence, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Now, before we let these beautiful listeners go, and these people that have been tuned in and listening, what's a last piece of knowledge, something that you want to leave us with, right? But more importantly, Wilberto, what's the best way for all these beautiful people to get a hold of you and reach out to you?
Sure, absolutely. So they can reach out to me. I'm at ReWealth Group on all social platforms. You can catch me at rewealthgroup.com. The best piece of advice that I would give is, I don't want you to be scared to take a chance. We live and learn. I'm successful because I've had many failures in my life. And once you embrace that, that goes in every aspect, not just financially, but in your day-to-day life, spiritually, emotionally, with your relationship with your partner. So take that chance, educated risk as well as you could take, but don't be afraid to make the mistakes. Time is going to keep on going by, and that's something that you can't get back, which is time. So utilize the wealth building. Don't be afraid of it, and don't put a meaning on it that is not attached to it. We might be afraid of wealth because we might have had bad experiences with someone who might be rich or might be poor. In fact, the people who I know have been at the lowest in their lives and made something of themselves and been able to do so much and bless people with the money that they've done. So use money as a tool. That's literally what it is. Use it the correct way. If you feel yourself in a area where you're struggling, or you might be reaching out some kind of hardship, reach out, talk to somebody, seek a professional that they can help you and save you before you get to that last piece that you're running out of dollar, that dollar amount. So don't be afraid, take the chance, seek help. Money is taboo, but it doesn't have to be. And get around like-minded people who share your passion, who are there where you want to be, and pick their brains. I can guarantee you that these individuals will help you, and they will be more than happy to teach you all they know or direct you to someone who they know that can help you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Willy. Muchísimas
Well,
gracias, man.
Gracias.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, brother.
Guys, I appreciate it. I'm so confident that you guys took so much out of this. So again, please like it, subscribe it, comment below, reach out with any questions. And again, guys, thank you for tuning in. I'll see you guys next week.